It's time to break down what went right and what went wrong during this week's game. Severe Reaction is on the air with your host, Michael Severe, and the most important voice of all, yours. Severe Reaction starts now. Powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Only on 1620 The Zone.
Brunkemeyer will take the snap. A few steps forward, take a knee. Final seconds, tick-off on senior night. Penn State beats Nebraska. Fireworks shoot off here at Beaver Stadium. Final score, Penn State 37 and Nebraska 10. With a loss, the Huskers fall to 7-4, even 500, 4-4 in Big Ten play. Penn State closer to bowl eligibility at 5-6. Back-to-back wins for them. They're now 2-6 in conference.
Obviously, that was a tough night. Credit to them. They were ready to play. They were unbelievably motivated. They played really well. I thought, I challenged the guys at halftime. A bad run there of plays in the first half. And obviously, we just never played well enough on defense to stop the run. Second half, obviously, we got to stop. Went down, scored. The punt fake. Credit to them. But just a disappointing day. We don't have a lot of time to worry about it and think about it. We got a big game on Friday. So, we take this L. I put it on me as the head coach. Credit to them, and we have to move forward fast.
I think we came in here, we knew it was coming, and we didn't execute. Like they executed. They were more physical than us. As simple as that. So I don't know why we didn't come with the right mindset. I felt we were prepared, but when the time came to it, we didn't execute. So we'll be better next week.
Oh, happy Sunday morning. Welcome to Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone. 402-951-1620 is the number. I am Michael Severe hosting the show. Joey Colbert, who is the producer in-house as he prepares for a big-time NFC North battle with the Minnesota Vikings.
I'm just glad it's an early game and not a late night.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled I don't have to wait.
Yeah, yes, I don't think I wait for the Saints, but they're a late game, 3:25 or whatever, 3:15.
That's a bad afternoon slate.
Atlanta, which is the team we all hate as much as we can as Saints fans, so it gives you a little bit of energy. I'm scared the Saints are favored in the game, and I'm not looking forward to the Saints winning games because I want to get a high draft pick.
I don't blame you.
But you never know. I'm sure I'll find myself cheering against the Falcons and for the Saints as the game goes on. I think, and I start with the word that Sierra Wright was saying there in the press conference. And you've got to have the right mindset, right? You have the right mindset when you're going into a road environment, when you're taking a freshman quarterback into a road environment. You have to have the right mindset when you're going against two running backs who for 4 years have been on the edge of either a first or second or third team, all Big Ten or all American, that had records in front of them they wanted to reach. You have to have the right mindset when you're going into a situation where, you look at Penn State trying to play to go to a bowl game. You look at Penn State as a team with pride. You look at, the we are mentality and all of that behind a coach who they really want to be their head coach. I would say this. Don't get caught up in that. We've seen so many teams over the course of the years decide because they like a coach who's the interim, they should be the head coach. And it rarely ever works out. The only time I remember it really working out is Dabo Swinney. Came in as an interim after being the wide receiver coach and, finished the season. First couple years didn't go as great. A lot of talk about him. And then, of course, obviously turned it around. But the majority of times, when you look at an interim coach and you really like him and you want him to stay around, it doesn't work out. Bill Stewart's one of the best examples at West Virginia. Coached them in a bowl game, won the bowl game, fired everybody up. It didn't work out. But anyway, moving on from that, right mindset, right? You got to have the right mindset. You got to come in a situation to equal what Penn State was coming in with. And we named all the things Penn State was coming in. Senior day is such an emotional thing for players, for the family, for the program. Senior day, when you have one of the best senior classes in the history of your program, which that was. I know at the end of the game, they were talking about how many wins this senior class had for Penn State. one of the greatest in the history of the program. Emotional. 2 great running backs. Yeah, you didn't have 110,000 people in the stands, but they were motivated and they made noise. Mindset. Did Nebraska come in with the right mindset to be able to win that game? They get the 52-yard run. People are feeling good. Emmett's feeling good. You're at the goal line. You got to punch it in. Now, am I for going for it? Yes. At the time I was for going for it. Still for going for it. Do I like the play call? No. If you've got a quarterback who is mobile, if you have a quarterback that just doesn't have a walker, you have to do something to force the defense into having to worry about more than one thing. You can call it a two-way go. You can call it an option. You can call it whatever you want. You have to be able to have that. And the fact that you have a mobile quarterback who's now been in the system for 2.5 games, and you don't have a situation, and I meant in terms of actually going out and playing. I know obviously he's been in the system all year, but you do not have something set up to challenge them on the edge or to do something with one of your tight ends that have completely disappeared from the program at the goal line. You don't have something other than, I don't know, bringing in a tight end to have him run the ball. I don't know. Where is the creativity inside the 5-yard line? We're going back to what happened early in the year when they were the only team in the country that had 3 times being inside the 5 and not scoring a touchdown and not getting a field goal either, ending in downs early in the year. They're back to that. Where is the creativity from inside the 5-yard line? There's a lot of things to complain about in the game, and we're going to go over all of them, but that's the first one. So now all of a sudden, all the momentum that you had tried to take away from them with your mindset goes back to them, and now it's on your defense to force this long field, force them to go, and hopefully stop them and punt. And instead you give up the drive, and they go down and they score. Now every bit of the mindset, the motivation, and everything you had is turned on its ear because you're not creative enough inside the 5-yard line. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I do not. I probably watched 30 games, parts of 30 games yesterday. And I watched many teams inside the 5 have something creative. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, but they tried. They gave the effort. They tried. It was so frustrating. And I think from that moment, and then of course Penn State gets the big 2 explosive plays on that drive to go down and score. We had talked all week about how important explosive plays were going to be in this game. They got them. And in the end, that was really one of the biggest differences in the game, the amount of explosive plays they put up and the ability to line up and run the ball whenever you want. We'll get to all of that, obviously. But your phone calls, most important part of it, 402-951-1620, brought to you by Equitable Bank, where we take banking personally, and brought to you by Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. We go over the good, the bad, the ugly, keys to the game, rushing stats. We'll go over all of that. Let's start off with Jim, first in line. What's up, Jim? How you doing this morning?
Well, good morning, Michael. It's tough to be a Husker today, but we'll manage. It's more than a mindset. It's the play calling. When you have a mobile quarterback, you have to spread the field. We did not spread the field until the second half when we were able to move the ball a little bit. Because when you spread the field, you create running lanes for that mobile quarterback. The other thing is you cannot get into a scoring contest with a team that is more physical than you, especially in our offensive line. We were getting beat. We need to take a look at Donovan Raiola. I called up earlier at the beginning of the year and said, we need to take a hard look at both Donovan Raiola and our strength coach. And I think that it really showed last night.
You took away from that game that the offensive line was the problem?
Our offensive line? Yes, it was.
That wasn't the fifth worst problem. The biggest problem was the defensive line and the fits on defense, the play calling, the not having the quarterback run, the offensive line didn't play poorly last night. There were holes. Emmett missed a number of holes.
They needed to punch it in. They didn't punch it in, did they?
But that was the running. Again, that's the play calling. Yeah. And yes, he missed the hole on the third down run. And then on the second down run, yes, you missed the block coming across from the guard. But the offensive line wasn't the fifth worst problem in that game yesterday. Come on, Jim.
The defensive line was. I'll say that.
Yeah, definitely the defensive line was. And then the second level and the third level too. In the end, you had more missed fits in the secondary than I've seen all season. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues in that game. But I agree with you that they have to go out in the portal and they're going to have to improve the offensive line. But last night wasn't the one that I think that we point to Donovan Raiola, who I think has done a pretty good job with several of the offensive lines in development. But I'm sorry, Jim, that one I don't buy this morning.
So. All right. Well, I'll just listen and I'll hang up and listen. And I love your show, Mike.
I appreciate it, Jim. Have a great rest of the day. And I get it, man. It's easy to always fall back on jumping on the offensive line. And I understand that. But you go back and you rewatch that game and just watch the offensive line and how they played. They were going against a team that over the last 2 weeks had 8 sacks. Okay, over the last 2 weeks. I believe it was 5-3 was the breakdown. And for the most part, outside of maybe 2 plays, one where Corcoran late in the game just got absolutely abused, right? And then one down by the goal line when Nebraska decided to run that little quick sprint out and it got completely beaten on the side by the extra pressure. They played really well against a defensive front that's been dominating the last few weeks, the last 2 weeks at least. So I defend the offensive line because I believe that I've watched I've watched a guy go from being a guard to being one of the better centers. I've watched Latovsky grow in his position from where he was. I mean, Spindler obviously is playing with one hand, but I think he's playing pretty well. And Pritchett's gotten better, right? So you've got to talk about it from that way too. And with all of the issues in that game, we're going to go. That one I didn't even have on the list of all the issues I possibly could have. I didn't go over that one. But hey, Jim, your opinion, it's welcome here. I appreciate it. Let's go to Val. Been holding the longest. What's up, Val?
How are you, Michael?
I'm okay, man. I'm a little fired up.
Yeah, you are. I enjoyed your last exchange. It was hot.
All right.
But last night, Penn State put it all together to beat us the way we went and played against UCLA. But that's all forgotten if we can come out on top with an uphill battle against Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
You touched on I've just got 3 quick questions. One, and this quick answer. How does a team like Penn State lose 6 games? 2, was the fake punt to humiliate us or to give them more time to, get their stars more stacked? And number 3, what does Nebraska really have to do? Looking at it from last night's game, what does Nebraska have to do to get to the next level?
All right, Val, I appreciate the phone call. I'll start off with Penn State and how that happened. So you lose a game against Oregon that you go into double overtime. A defensive back makes a great play. Thieneman makes a great play, gets the interception. So then you let Oregon beat you twice. You play against a UCLA team that hasn't won, back up against the wall, and you come out playing lethargic because you just lost the game and you couldn't get over it. You couldn't turn the page. The Northwestern game, it was back and forth. Aller goes down late third quarter, early fourth quarter. I don't know. That was a bad loss. The Iowa game, they could have easily won. They had the opportunity. Iowa just was Iowa and won the game. When things start rolling downhill, when a rock starts to roll downhill and gain momentum, you have to either be able to, with your mindset, be able to focus enough to stop that, or your ass just gets run over. And that's what happened to Penn State in this season. As for the fake punt, I think they looked and said, we're up 20. If they go down and score again, because remember, Nebraska had scored, you don't want to let it get close. And they said, we have this set up. Part of fake punts a lot of times is they aren't necessarily always called. They're arranged. So you're in practice. You're looking at film. You go, hey, if they come out in this set, we're running the fake, right? We're running the fake. No matter what's going on, if they come out in this set, we're running the fake, usually from a yard line. I think that's what happened. They had it set up. It was in the game plan. Nebraska came out in the set that was vulnerable to it, and they ran it. That's what I think happened. And the third thing, we're going to go over that. We're going to go over what it's going to take to fix the issues. And I agree. If you can beat Iowa, it obviously makes everything feel a little better. You're sitting there at 8-4. You're going to probably Tampa for a great bowl game. And I believe, and I'll say this later, and I said it last week, the Iowa matchup is the good matchup for Nebraska because you flip a bunch of things that you had going against you at Penn State. So I believe that Nebraska has a great chance to win. I didn't have a good feeling about this game, and I told a lot of people that would ask me, what did I think about it? And I said, I'd say bet Penn State and give those points because it's a bad situation for Nebraska. I think the situation on Black Friday is going to be a good situation for Nebraska. Let's take one more phone call before we take our first break. We'll go to Bob. Good morning, Bob.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey,
quick question. The experiment at defensive coordinator, I mean, are we past it yet? This guy's way in over his head, man. Zero development on the defensive side of the ball. We're not tackling. Is it me or we? It seems as if our linebackers are either taking the wrong read or we're calling the wrong play on defense. They always seem to be a step or a half a step out of position. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just seeing things. Overall, as a program, I'm so disappointed with Holgorsen and the games he's called this year. The Minnesota game and this Penn State game are both head scratchers. Now, I'm with you, Severe. Penn State, this was a game. In theory, Nebraska was going to struggle to win. I'm not saying they couldn't have won it, but on paper, chances are we were probably going to take the L.
Everything had to go right. Everything had to go right for them.
But does not mean a team like Nebraska, with the talent we have and with the coaches we have, we cannot compete. Are you kidding me? Minnesota, we didn't even score a touchdown in Minnesota. We didn't even compete, and both those games were coming off of byes.
Yeah.
Both those games, we looked more unprepared than we had all year.
No, they came off of Maryland. They played at Maryland and then had to go play at Minnesota for the first one.
Oh, I apologize.
That's right.
Either way, very unprepared.
Yeah.
Very, very unprepared.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand it. To me, that's coaching.
Yeah.
That's exactly the opening statement, our mindset. Where was your mindset? What was the game plan? I mean, you got punched in the mouth on the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a first down, and you obviously couldn't get the touchdown. So then what? We just throw everything out the window and give up a 98-yard drive and just the game's over? I mean, that to me is coaching. Now, call me crazy, but that's coaching. Development is way, way behind. Matt Rule needs to take a hard look at some things. I do think the offensive line has made progress, especially in the run blocking arena. I think Emmett could do a little better job of hitting the holes. But overall, I think the run game is coming along nice. But man, that defense push at all. I mean, nothing at all.
Yeah.
And if we're recruiting these big boys, it's one thing to recruit them, but we got to develop them. We have to develop them, and I do not see it. Butler's not the guy. He's just not.
Hey, Bob, I appreciate the call, man.
It's time we admit it and move on.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. Bob, I appreciate it. I'm gonna take a quick break because we got to come back, but we're gonna get into the defensive issues. Take your phone call, Steve, Andrew, and Josh. Stay right there. There's a lot going on in terms of the future, but I will tell you this: the one thing that I think I know for sure. I can't remember if it was Tom Chattel or if it's Sip that did the column, things I know, I think I know, or whatever. The guys that are in the program right now, I think Van Poppel you started to see it into the year. You see him getting better. It's going to get stronger. I think the same thing with Nweri and the same thing with Davis. I think those guys are going to develop into what you need. Now you need to fill. You're going to have to go out and spend some money, but I think those guys are going to be the core next year, and they're going to be pretty good in the defensive line another year in the program. But you have to wait, and waiting sucks. When we come back, we'll look more into the defense. This is Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Under center, staggered eye to the right, handoff Johnson over right guard. He's popped, and I think he's short. Coming up to make the hit was Zane Durant, and Nebraska's turned away inside the 5-yard line.
Boy, good old-fashioned I formation of Penn State having none of it. Stout at the point of attack and fitting in the run game.
Yeah, so the question was 2 red zone points in the 3 trips. That was disappointing. We had 2 shots, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. We came to win. We were going to go for it. We thought we had good plays. I looked like we controlled the line of scrimmage early. I was fired up about it. I thought we look at the end of the day, we had 300 yards of offense, which isn't great, but we also weren't getting off the field great. Like at one point, we had 15 first downs. We had 13 first downs. So it wasn't like we couldn't do anything offensively. We just didn't come away with a lot of points. And then when you're down that much, you're having to go for it as opposed to, take points here and there. So.
Welcome back to Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. I mentioned mindset at the start. I think that was a big part of it. I think that's why Sierra Wright mentioned it. He's a very thoughtful guy. You listen to what he says. I think he always tells you. He mentioned it after Minnesota too. So I think he always tells you the truth. And I think he got a lot out of what Sierra Wright said yesterday. It was only like a minute and a half. I think he talked, or a minute 45. You can go back and listen to him. You can hear it in his voice, and you can hear what he's saying. But I mean, outside of that, last week, John Butler's getting interviewed on Tuesday, and he says, of course, it's lower hanging fruit that we don't, stop the run well, which is just silly to say. I mean, first of all, it's a cliche I wish would go away forever. I'm so tired of low hanging fruit. It's low hanging fruit for a reason, right? I mean, it's within reach because it's obvious. It's there because the bottom line is it's right there. It's right in front of you. It's on tape. It's in the numbers. To say it's low-hanging fruit, yeah, of course it is. But it's true. You're bad at this. You're not good at this. And there's a reason for it, right? Matt Rule called run defense a challenge this week and said, you know what? Let's do things that are tough. So Nebraska knew what was in front of them. They knew that they had 2 record-setting running backs that are going to be challenging them. They knew exactly what Penn State was going to do. They knew who Katron Allen was. They knew what Nick Singleton was, both in the backfield and out of the backfield. And together they had 35 touches for 255 yards, even though they knew. That's 7.3 yards a touch. 6 rush plays went for over 10 yards. You had a 50-yard one early on from Allen, and then you had the 50-yard reception from Singleton. It's like they stopped nothing. Like they went in and said, we know exactly what we have to do, but we're not going to stop anything. So, yeah, it's low-hanging fruit. But duh, it shouldn't be. Here's your problem. Matt Rule, over the course of his career, has always made sure, I think this is part of being a defensive guy or whatever else, made sure that his team stopped the run. I posted on Twitter a little while ago what the numbers look like. But last year, 3.4 yards a carry. First year at Nebraska, 3.0. After getting Baylor fixed, 3.7 yards a run. After getting Temple fixed, 3.7 yards a run. Even at Carolina, one of the best things they did was stop the run. Now, all of a sudden, you're giving up 5.2 yards a carry. All of a sudden, you stop the run when you commit to stopping the run. That's obvious. It's that low-hanging fruit thing, right? You commit to stopping the run by committing to stop to the run. It's very simple. Your defensive line either has to take up blocks or get off blocks. Your second level has to either fill or spill, and your defensive backs have to play the right angles, follow their keys, and do what they're supposed to do. That's committing to stop the run. One of my favorite, I put this in, Joey, one of my favorite lines from the movie Any Given Sunday. I know the great speech by Pacino, but not that. This is a small one from Jim Brown, who's the defensive coordinator on the team. and they're getting killed at halftime. And he made a very simple statement about defense. Can you play that, Joey?
And when I'm talking about defense, guys, you're dumb enough, we made it simple enough. We made this real simple.
It's simple. You commit to stopping the run, and you stop the run. You've got a defensive coordinator who's a defensive backs coach. That's what he knows. That's his specialty. He's going to stop the pass. He's going to limit the pass. That's not how you win in the Big Ten. It's nice. It's cute. It looks good when you want to talk about stats for your defensive backs. Minnesota, $186, 5.3 yards a rush. USC, 202 yards rushing, 5.3 yards a rush. Northwestern, 172 yards rushing, 5.7 yards a rush. And then last night, 231 at 5.9 yards a rush. That's a systematic issue. That's not about one player. That's not about a scheme. That's a systematic issue that comes from up top. It comes from your defensive coordinator that has to say, I have to stop this in practice, in preparation, in film, in the game. I have to stop this. And if you don't, you see what happens. It's not that complicated. It really isn't. That's the great thing about that line from Jim Brown. It's simple. You say kiss it. Keep it simple, stupid. You gotta do what you have to do in the conference you're in. Back in the day when you were in the Big 12, when Nebraska was in the Big 12, they had to stop the catch, rock, and throw, quick release, slants, RPO kind of stuff that was just starting. They knew that. But now, after all these years, they're in the Big 10 with a schedule set up to win 9 games. And what happens? They can't do the fundamental thing you have to do in the Big 10 to win. And if you want to look for blame, yeah, sure, put it on John Butler. But again, it is a systematic issue. From the top, the man who always said, I want to stop the run and has done it for the most part of his career, all the way through the guy he hired to be his defensive coordinator, all the way through the preparation, all the way down to the players. All of those things. That's how you stop the run. And Nebraska's at a point now where they're going to face a team in Iowa that runs the ball at a pretty high rate. They're not great at it, but they're good. And they know the system. They know what it takes to beat Nebraska because they've seen it. Let's go back to the phones. Steve's been on the phone the longest, on hold longest. What's up, Steve? Steve is gone. Let's go to Josh. Good morning, Josh. Are you there, Josh? Hey, Josh.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, man.
There. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I got more of a statement than a question.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to put a qualifier out there. I understand that Grunkemeyer cut his teeth against Iowa, Ohio State, and Indiana to open up. But without having any objective statistics or criteria to point to other than just the players, doesn't it seem like every backup quarterback has their breakthrough game and their get-right game against Nebraska? And I'll just listen to what you got to say, and that's it. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, and Josh, you're not even talking about just this year, right? You're talking about over the years. Yeah, we've seen a number of backup quarterbacks come in games and take advantage of Nebraska. You can go all the way back to when Callahan was here in that situation with Texas Tech, losing their quarterback right before the game started and starting a guy where we're like, who is this out here playing? No, I agree. I know. Well, one more phone call before we take a break. Let's go to Andrew. Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
How are you doing, Mr. Severe?
Good, Drew. Doing well.
So what if the solution is I agree with you that Butler's in the wrong conference for his coaching style to focus on defensive backs. What is a top line offensive line coach go for and a top line defensive line coach go for?
Well, I think
is that where we should be focusing?
You have to pay everybody now, like in the $750,000, $800,000 range. Everybody who's not a coordinator, I think, is going to be starting to move to those numbers. And if they're successful, maybe even more than that.
Why don't we go after a big name O-line coach or a big name D-line coach and just offer him something we can't refuse?
Well,
he can't refuse.
Part of that, Drew, is I'm just talking about when you're hiring. You usually either you hire somebody or you hire somebody that runs the system you want them to run. That's usually how you do it. And I'll tell you, most coaches don't necessarily go out of their wheelhouse and hire somebody who they don't know or maybe doesn't do what they want them to do. So that's kind of part of it. But I agree. I mean, you have a lot of money, and a lot of the money needs to be spent on the coaching staff because obviously that's what wins. Development, coaching. So I agree with you. The money needs to be spent. Yes.
And I think it was like 3 weeks. Maybe this was in the beginning of the year. Rule was talking about his focus in the portal was a quarterback and some offensive skill players. He really needs to focus on the line play and really work on getting good linemen on both offensive and defense. I mean, open up the pocketbook there.
Yeah, I don't remember the part of saying quarterback because I think that's the last thing they need in terms of the way they had, especially back then when you had also Dayton still in it. But yeah, you got to get another running back. You got to get defensive linemen, and tackles are very expensive on the offensive side, but you certainly need to go there too. So no,
how much is a quality, would you say, defensive line prospect or
pass rusher? Look at Nweri. They spent a lot of money on Nweri, getting him, a former 5-star. They spent money on him. They spent money on Spindler. They spent money on Pritchard. But he mentioned how much money he has, and now he's got all the money he needs. So you're paying $1 million for a high quality guy that goes out there and gets sacks, and you're paying $1 million for a guy who stops you from giving up sacks.
Because if he, with that statement that he made that he has everything he needs now,
right,
he really has no room for error. He set himself up for no room for error.
No, completely agree. Because you can't fall back on saying we don't spend enough money when you miss out on somebody.
And he can't fall back on we don't have the right coaches. He needs to go out and get them.
I agree, Andrew. I agree. Appreciate it, man.
Take care.
All right, take it easy. We come back. We are going to get into some of the good and the bad. Steve, stay right there. You can always call 402-951-1620 to reach out to Severe Reaction. Brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. We'll get into some of the good. I know there's not a lot of it, but we'll get into some of that. And, of course, look a little bit more at what it's going to take to beat. I know a lot of people who are saying they have no chance against Iowa. They have no chance against Iowa. They have no chance against Iowa. You guys are crazy. You guys are nuts. Watch. Everybody's got a chance against Iowa. Everybody. Michigan State, it doesn't matter. Everybody's got a chance against Iowa. Nebraska will have a chance against Iowa on Friday. That I know for sure. More Severe Reaction when we come back here on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Harper takes the snap, hands off up the middle. Johnson has a first down and more. Turbo button midfield, 45-40. Left side numbers, 25-20. Along the sideline, right out of bounds. Just shy of the 10-yard line. 3rd and 2, and it's a big rip for Emmett Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's hard when you lose, man. Losing's never good, but you can always learn from losing. So we just got to learn from this. Just adversity. We're going through adversity right now. But like I said, we just got to bounce back. Quick turnaround this week. So it hurts. Don't get me wrong. It hurts, but we got to flush it and move on.
I think one of the biggest things were we weren't getting the runs that normally we've been getting like 5 or 6 the last couple of weeks. It was more 2 or 3. On the flip side, we were able to drop back and make some plays. Guys were getting open. Quarterback was able, TJ was able to run around. There sometimes probably in the first half we were like, hey, take off. And I thought he kind of adjusted to that. But Emmett's a warrior. He battles. He fights. I just can't say enough about him. He's had a great year, and that's why I said, and I'll probably get laughed at for it, but even in the midst of like that score, like I'm watching Pritchett out there play. I'm watching Turner. I'm watching us handle the pass rush that they have, and I'm watching us protect it. I'm watching guys, scrap and fight. But yeah, Emmett continues to do it. He'll have to do it on Friday.
Welcome back to Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. Emmett's 4th 100-yard game in a row, 5 of the last 6. 19 carries, 103 yards, had the 52-yard run early. But like Coach Rule said, there was some of those runs, especially the inside runs, and a lot of it's because of Emmett. You saw them getting 5 or 6 yards in some of the pass games. Then at times you saw in this game where Emmett be making a move, and Emmett will occasionally cut on air. That's one thing I've always noticed about him. He will cut on air. There's nothing there, but he's cutting. That's 2-yard run. And part of that is a better defensive front with Penn State. But I think a bigger part of it is that I think, especially when you get stopped early and you get down, I think this team, even though they've come back a couple times, you have that mentality where now all of a sudden you got to rush a little bit, and you don't. I would have liked to seen Latif early in the first half when he got outside and was looking to make throws or just take off and run and get 4 or 5 yards. And I think he's going to develop it. As a matter of fact, I know he's going to develop, because if you look in the second half, there was a couple times where the exact same thing happened, and he did run. And he did pick up 5, 6, 7 yards. So, 11 on the touchdown run he had. But, overall, his rush numbers weren't what I expected. You were going to get to Penn State team that gave up over 130 yards rushing to the Iowa quarterback, over 160 yards rushing to the UCLA quarterback, gave up 70 yards rushing to the Nevada quarterback, who was Chuba Purdy, gave up first down runs to Mendoza. They gave up runs to quarterbacks all year. And so I thought we'd see more of that. We didn't. Let's go back to the phones where Steve is. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm good, Michael. How are you?
Pretty good, man.
I wanted to call and talk about offense, but you scared the hell out of me with the defense we just talked about, and all of that I think was pretty accurate. It's more concerning than I thought about earlier, but I'm going to stay with the offense.
Yeah.
First of all, I agree with you. The offensive line really is not the problem. Or they're better than I thought they were earlier in the year, and I think they're okay. But what does concern me is Holgorsen. I'm not sold on the guy at this point. I was when he came in, thought he was good, but at this point, I don't see that creativity. And you've been talking about it a little bit. And we go back to that first drive yesterday. You get the ball inside the 5, and we run the ball up the middle 3 times, essentially. I would think you'd have in your bag of tricks 3, 4, 5 great 2-point plays that are going to work, whether that's an in-motion flip to what's his name? Number 2 coming around the end. He scored several times on that last year.
Yep.
Barney, yeah. Just beat the guys to the pylon at that point, right?
Yep.
Something with a tight end. Something
yes.
other than what we did. It's worrisome to me that he doesn't seem to have that creativity that I anticipated he was going to have. And then I think that bore out later in the game too, as you just mentioned, Latif not running the ball a little bit more, opening things up for the pass game and for the additional running game if you just get him started a little bit. But so I guess my overall question to you is, what are you thinking about Holgorsen at this point?
Hey, Steve, I appreciate the call. One of the things that when he was hired, not even before he was hired, when it was mentioned that he was going to come in and consult, remember that took a couple of days. We heard that and he was going to get hired. And then all of a sudden he's actually going to call plays. I remember listening to some national people, including, I'm not sure if it was John and Josh that brought somebody on, but had brought somebody on from his last couple stops that had known him. And they did worry if kind of the way things have changed, that offense had passed him by a little bit. If what they did as coaches, assistant coaches, everybody from the Mike Leach train had kind of like tried to move away from that a little bit and hadn't had as much success, right? And so there was the debate over whether or not this whole calling offense in 2025 or 2024 at the time had passed him by. And there are times where I watch him. UCLA wasn't a very good defense. We tried to tell people all week it was the second worst defense in the Big Ten. They had the worst pressure rate, Power 4 teams, all of that. We knew that. But I did see stuff in the play calling. And hell, you saw a couple last night. The one throw that, probably the best throw that TJ made so far of his career, the wheel route he threw down a sideline where he dropped it in the bucket, that was an incredible throw. And he's made some good ones and made good ones yesterday. But that was an incredible throw. That was a nice call. And occasionally you will see calls where you go, okay, he's in a little rhythm, but you don't see the rhythm enough, which does concern you a little bit. I don't know if he does what Matt Rule wants an offensive coordinator to do in order to be successful. I don't. Maybe I need to see more. I will tell you, if you just look at the numbers, their finishing drive rate is about the same as it was last year. The run game is slightly worse than it was last year, even though Emmett is having an amazing year. But overall, if you look at what they're doing in terms of success rate, it's about the same. They really haven't overall took the jump I thought they would take, or even the jump they took in the final 4 games that he coached last year, including the bowl game. They haven't taken that jump. Now, they have the wide receivers. We all believe in Dane Key. We believe in Isaiah Hunter. I think, Barney obviously is very good at the young guys. We know that Emmett's giving them everything. I think they don't use their tight ends enough, which I thought this week specifically against Penn State, whose defense usually is designed to try to eliminate explosive plays on the outside, that I thought maybe they would get more plays out of Lindenmeyer, maybe Harburg. They got the one catch by Carter late in the game. I thought we'd see more of that. So, yeah, I have tons of questions about whether or not Holgorsen's the right guy, because I don't know if there's a lot of excuses. Now, you lose your quarterback and you go to your backup, but that happens across the country. And when that happens across the country, a lot of teams still succeed. And Nebraska, they're 1-1 so far with their backup quarterback. I think the answer to the question is, when this season's over, and when Matt Rule sits down and says, do I have what I need to win and compete for a Big Ten title? Because that's still the bottom line. He has to consider, is Dana the guy for him? Is Butler the guy for him? All the assistant coaches? He has over his career made changes. So maybe that happens again. I don't know. But that's something that you get to sit down and figure out. If everybody's on the same page, if you're doing what it takes to win in the Big Ten, and you're doing what it takes to get 9 or 10 wins, that's going to be the question they're going to have to ask and answer. And at this point, I think the answer right now is still an incomplete. Let's see how they play against Iowa, see how they play in the bowl game, and then look ahead to 2026 and find the right people to operate the right offense that you need in this league. That's what you have to do. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get back to the phones. 402-951. Stay right there on hold. We'll catch up with you. As always, Severe Reaction is brought to you by Equitable Bank, where we take banking personally and answer the phone on the first ring. And brought to you by Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. More Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Runkemeyer out of a pistol, single back Allen, 2 wide right, 2 tight ends left. Nebraska crowds the box, handoff over left tackle. Allen sweeps the edge, turns the corner. There he goes. Jet to the 35-30. Allen to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Andrew Marshall runs him out of bounds. First and goal, Penn State at the 3-yard line.
Watch play action here, though, Casey.
Second and goal from the 4 at the right end. Split back, Runkemeyer out of the gun. 2 receivers stack left. Ball on the left hash. Snap. Play fake, screen left, call Andrew Rapplier makes a catch of the 5, sprints inside the far left pylon, beat Donovan Jones to the corner, and Penn State takes their opening drive 98 yards. It's 6-0 Nittany Lions, 7:22 in the first.
Just probably past eight, this is for me to say, like, oh, it's just one thing. Like, they got the ball in the perimeter a bunch, we missed some tackles, we were in spots. So, you can't give up Steve's 37 points, in this league. You can't give up however many yards rushing. I'll probably try to do a great job at the end of the year talking to you guys more big picture. Right now, that was disappointing, obviously.
2 things happened yesterday that I kind of say it should drive you a little crazy. Wisconsin won their second game this season against a ranked team. Second time this season against a ranked team. They're 4-7. 2 of their wins are against ranked teams. And the other thing is what Nebraska did at the end of the half. Okay, I thought they were going to do a Hail Mary. I was set up. I was recording the audio. I'm like, okay, well, they're going to throw a Hail Mary here, right? And then instead, I don't know what they did. The throw to Jakari Barney, was it a fumble? Was it not? I don't understand that. What were you thinking? I know there probably was enough time to throw a quick out. But honestly, throwing a screen, I don't understand that. That there's that picture of that. It's the meme where the guy with the wild hair is just going, the WTF thing. He's mouthing it. And I go, that's how I felt after that.
Wasn't that a 4th down play as well? It was like 6 seconds left, and that could have given Penn State a potential Hail Mary opportunity as well.
If it would have been less than 6 seconds, for sure. And I get in 6 seconds, you can throw a quick out. You could even throw something across the middle, get down, because they had 2 timeouts, and get down, call a timeout maybe, but it's a Hail Mary there. That's it.
Yeah.
The Hail Mary is going to exhaust all 6 of the seconds, right? If you're throwing a Hail Mary from around the 50-yard line, it's going to exhaust all 6 seconds. The hang time is going to be at least 4 of it. It's going to take you at least 2 to run around or at least get to a point where you can throw it that far. So that one I don't know. Nobody asked about that in the press conference. I'd like to know what the hell was the thought behind it. But anyway, those 2 things. Wisconsin, 2 wins over ranked teams this season and only have 4 wins. And Nebraska, whatever they decided to do at the end of the half there. Very strange. Let's go back to the phones where Chris number 1 is. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, good morning, Michael. Hey, we talked a couple weeks ago, and you brought up a good point. I had mentioned my frustrations with, or maybe said another way, Rule in his press conferences, and the talk and the chatter and the redirect and the hope and what I believe is pomp and circumstance and pontificating and so on and so forth. And you brought up a good point. You countered with, but if that's who he is and we know that, but yet he's doing things behind the scene, then what's the problem? I would counter. I believe the problem is coaching. I believe that when you see a team that's inconsistent and you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, and you get the deer in the headline moments, I think that's coaching. And you have to understand that this is a guy that whiffed on 3 NAI players that come to mind, 2 on the offensive line and Sims. He whiffed from the jump on who his offensive coordinator was going to be, had to make changes in year 2. He whiffed in his special teams coordinator, and so had to make changes. And to those that say, and I look at things from a different angle, I don't look at the Jimmies and the Joes, because I believe if you put kids in the right position to perform and succeed, you can motivate them, you have a plan, and you can prepare, that a lot of these things can work out whether you have the talent or not. And I heard Connor
And John last night talked about there's a talent difference, and it's obvious. And it's kind of interesting when we win the game, we're talking about we're going to be or maybe play for championships. And then when we lose, it's talent. There wasn't a talent issue against Minnesota. It's about preparation, and it's about I think we have mid-level, mid-tier coaches, not saying they're bad guys, not saying they're bad coaches, but they're not elite. The last thing I want to leave you with is I'm stunned with the lack of creativity in the red zone. It's obvious to anyone, I would think, and even an offensive coordinator, that when you get in the red zone, you have to press or stress the defense, both north and south, east and west, and with a running quarterback. And when you do that, and you have a Barney, you have a Harburg who they've absolutely not even attempted to utilize in any meaningful way. It's a shame to the kid because, again, we heard Rule talk, if you remember, Michael, on what he was going to do and the weapon they've had. So I'll leave it with this. I'm just tired of the talking. And you brought up a good point in that we can beat Iowa without question. But will we? And we don't know because we don't know how consistent they will be. We don't know the adjustments. We don't know if they make the halftime changes, if they'll be ready. We don't know all of that. And to me, that goes back to coaching. It's not the players. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Chris. I mean, it's always part on the players. It's always part on talent. But yes, a lot of times a coach is worth 2.5 wins in a season. Coaching is worth that. And Nebraska has not had that. Let's go to Old Man Doug. What's up, Old Man Doug?
My blood pressure.
You can't. Don't let that do that to you, man. Don't let them do that to you.
Well, they have. So the fans and the boosters and all that. It seems like they care more than the players and sometimes the coaches. And I know, what do you expect them to say after something like that? But at what point? I mean, I keep saying it's coming, but it's going to come where people are going to stop caring. And this Iowa game, I'm going to go. I'll probably get all pissed off after the game again. But there's going to be a lot of black and gold in there because Nebraska fans are going to sit there and say to themselves, do I want to go down there on Black Friday, sell my tickets, buy a few extra Christmas presents or something? At some point, we're going to lose interest.
Doug, I know what you're saying, and I get it, but that hasn't happened. Look how many people were there at Penn State last night. I mean, that's a horrible trip, and you had
I've been there.
3 major sections, of Nebraska fans, from what I could see. So I mean, they're still going to do that. I don't know, man. I think if Nebraska maintains, the 7, 8, 9 win thing, I could see if it maybe goes to the point where they are Oklahoma over that stretch where they, 1-4 and 1-5. Maybe that happens now, but I can't see Nebraska fans ever just walking away from the program. Nothing else to do, man.
Well, I'm having a tough year because I don't think Creighton's going to be any good either. But I am enjoying watching the volleyball team.
Yes, exactly. Hey, watch some Nebraska basketball, Doug. Man, come on.
I watched. Hey, here's people think I'm not against them.
Okay, all right.
Okay, but if they lose, and of course, they've got some rabid fans because they're kind of at that level where they're getting better
and they're fun.
So people are excited about it.
Yeah.
But if Hoiberg had a bad year last year, I think they lose a lot of support because they don't have a long history like the football team does.
Yeah.
But
okay.
It's just frustrating to be a fan and knowing that the investment and the money is there. And I don't know. I just think this team is pampered. I think they have the best facilities in the country, and I'm sure they got their juice box after the game and all that on the way home. And I'm just, other teams are doing it with less. That's what bothers me. A lot less.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
Yeah.
The price sucks.
Doug, I appreciate it, man. Have a great Sunday. I watched the whole Minnesota Northwestern game and ended up being a really good game. and Northwestern won on a field goal. They're fighting to get the bowl eligibility. That's what they're doing, fighting to get the bowl eligibility, and they got it. And you see just the desire, the strain that they put in. And sometimes, and I think Nebraska, they play hard, but man, sometimes you just don't see the same strain or creativity or a number of things that you see when you're watching other Big Ten games, which I understand can be really frustrating. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Terrence, stay right there. We'll get your phone call when we come back. 402-951-1620, hour number 2 of Severe Reaction next.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Tempo from the 3-yard line. On your left hash, pistol snap, handoff up the middle, Singleton powers over the center, backpedals his way. Near the goal line is he in. He's about 2 yards in. No signal yet from either official. And now those hands go skyward for a touchdown.
And Nebraska's got to come back to that. You cannot run around pullers. You have to take them on.
We were having to commit guys to the run of big pressures, and they caught us in some zones. They caught us in a scramble. It wasn't like they were lining up and dropping back and, dialing us apart. It wasn't like they were beating us to man. And I'm not saying just getting credit to them. But, John was bringing pressure, and they were just, they were picking up some of the pressures. We had them covered one time. Deshaun comes with gets the big sack. So we had a moment or two, but I think it's more a function of they controlled the line of scrimmage, and the one big pass was they threw the ball out on a perimeter screen. 2 guys got blocked. Both those backs were really outstanding. Been All-American candidates since they were freshmen. Obviously, they put it all together today. We had to tackle and get off blocks better. We did not.
Welcome back. Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620 from the stream. when Nebraska fans left the stadium during the Callahan years, Callahan got fired. I've seen this fan base force the program to make a change. Part of the reason why Callahan got fired was because he didn't win enough games, right? Of course. I was in the stadium against Oklahoma State when they went down, 28-0. The thing is, they left the stadium. The problem is they came to the stadium. So what Doug is saying, they're not going to go to the games. It's one thing to leave at halftime or leave in the third quarter. It's another thing to still go and fill the stadium up to start the game. And they continue to do that. I was also there when they lost to Purdue under a coach that only won, I believe, 2 games the whole season and came back as a 4-6 team, I believe, and filled the stadium up against Michigan State. I've watched this program in the 23 years I've lived here now. I've watched this stadium. I've watched this fan base go through all kinds of pains. And yes, I've seen them leave games early. But until they stop going to the game, or more than that, when they stop buying the tickets, that's when it's really going to be an issue. Even under Callahan, they still bought the tickets. The program still gets the money if they leave. If Callahan wins 2 more games, doesn't blow the Texas game, Coach Osborne was going to keep him. He told him, get to 7-5. You're staying. Despite everything that happened, he gets to 7-5. He stays. How crazy is that to think about? But it's what Coach Osborne told him as the AD. All I'm saying is, I don't think Nebraska's going to stop going to the games. Will they get upset? Will they leave early? Maybe. Will there be some empty seats? Sure. But as long as they continue to buy tickets, I don't know if we're going to see a situation where all of a sudden it turns and Nebraska fans don't support the program anymore. That's what Doug is saying. I don't see that happening. Just don't see it. But, by the way, Jeff Sims now with Arizona State as a backup quarterback. When Sam Leavitt got knocked out, everybody was Arizona State's done. They've won 3 in a row. Not the greatest competition. They did beat Iowa State. But under backup quarterback Jeff Sims, they're 3-0. It shows you, again, it's not just about the quarterback and losing your quarterback. It's the way that the program is set up and the way you have a correct mindset and the way you put the program together. That's what's important. And Arizona State is showing that now, despite having a quarterback that turns the ball over at an incredibly high rate. They're still winning games, which is crazy to think of. Let's go to Terrence this morning. What's up, Terrence?
Hey, Mike, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop supporting my team. I mean, I've been a Nebraska fan for many years. I'm frustrated. I'm upset, and I want to see them win.
Yeah.
I just want to know is Matt Rule, and I support Matt Rule. He's the coach. It's just that I know when he was hired, developmental and evaluating players. Jeff Sims, as you just mentioned, he put his money on Jeff Sims. He came in, fumbled. We just didn't have the wide receivers. Did we go and get the wide receivers? Now we don't have a defensive. I mean, we have the defensive line, as you state. It's just they're young to the time for Ty and not to get to where they need to be at last year.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Beginning of the season, did they see that they have too much youth and go and just spend that money to get a defensive lineman? Because Judy is just not doing that this time and developing these players. Because watching Iowa, the rankings, the players they have, they fit, they make the fits. They go into stop the run. Why can't we do that? And that's the $1 million question. Thank you. And I enjoy your show.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Terrence. You're right, Terrence. I mean, go back and just watch the last 2 touchdown runs. And look, it's good blocking by the offensive line. It is. It's good blocking. But you see where the fit's supposed to be. You see the player for Nebraska where he's supposed to be, and he's not there. How much of that is it's 30-10 and you're not maybe playing as hard as you need to, or is that not recognizing what's happening? Is that scheme? What is it? What is it not having the right, as I mentioned over and over again, the right mentality, the right mindset? Why did that happen? Why early on that outside run that Allen had, where all you have to do as 37 is to get to the sideline. Use the sideline. That's your partner. That's your friend. That's the guy that it's undefeated. And instead, you take an inside set, and all of a sudden, Allen, very little room, gets to the outside. That's on you. There's the play right there. Why did he just I'm watching the replay. Just popped. That's weird. It just popped up. Why did he choose to go inside when the only place Allen can go is to the outside? And if you're there, the only choice he then has is either to cut it back into all your friends or go out of bounds. Why was that choice made? Is that on the player just not knowing what's supposed to be done? Was it taught? Or that's just simple error on number 37? What is it? But that's what happened on that play. And that's what happened multiple times. I believe when this season's over, Matt Rule makes the decision on what happens with his defense, that the best thing he can do, and I'm sure John Butler's a great guy, the best thing he can do is to go out and replace him and say, listen, we're going to go out and I'm going to get me a defensive coordinator that stops the run. I'm going to go out and get a defensive coordinator that has more experience. You got to remember the experience that Butler had as defensive coordinator goes all the way back to when Penn State was dealing with the Sandusky fallout. Go get a guy with more experience who knows how to stop the run, who fits better what I need to get done in the Big Ten. That's a decision I think Matt Rule has to make, and I think he'll make it. Just my opinion on that. Let's go back to Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Michael. Well, the sun came up.
Yes, it did.
That's
yes.
always a good thing.
Yep.
Hey, so just let's not talk games, just talk records. So the 4 losses they have before the season started was the 4 teams I thought they were going to lose to. So they're right where I thought they could be.
Okay.
Now, the problem that I have is the number 7.5. And for anybody who knows, that's the win total for Nebraska and also the win total for Iowa.
Yes.
So so I have Nebraska on the upside, Iowa on the downside. So the only choice I have is I have to probably look at Iowa this week.
You got to hedge.
Kill me.
Yeah.
Got to do a little hedge, you bet. So, but the thing with Iowa, this game coming up, why I'm still fairly optimistic that we can beat this team is the last few games, we've lost the Iowa game because of special teams.
Yes.
And this year, the only saving grace that we have with our team is how vastly our special teams has improved. So I think that is going to be a determining factor because it's going to be a typical cold, wet Iowa game that Iowa loves, we hate, but I really think we have a chance to take it, even being the underdog this year, to take them down. So,
Jeff, I agree. I definitely agree with you. I think you're saying right there. And good luck on the hedging, and hope you get what you need to get. Let's go to Matt. Good morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just calling in. I don't know if you had a chance to catch Big Red overreaction last night. But the first 10 callers were, you have to be glad. I feel bad for Gary and Connor. It was quite the scene. So I'm a Hawkeye fan. I call annually. And sometimes when you look at your own team, when I look at Iowa, I just see all negative.
Sure.
With Nebraska, you guys are 7-4. TJ Lateef, second start in Happy Valley. He was dropping it in the bucket. He's mobile. And the most important thing, he was throwing the ball away. Dylan's a good quarterback, but I think they would have like 4 more sacks in that game if Dylan were back there. Maybe he would have passed it a little better. I don't know. The negative thing is how you guys need as a 3-4, and I'd be interested to hear your analysis because you know football better than me. You need someone that just eats up space in the middle of that 3-4.
Nose tackle, right.
And the defensive line, I think your defensive linemen are very athletic. I mean, they have great young talent, but you need like a Nash or a Ty Robinson or someone to eat up some space in there. Because an earlier caller was saying the linebackers weren't getting to the gap. Well, when the offensive line's pushing your whole, I mean, there were like 3 or 4 plays last night where they stopped Singleton 3 or 4 yards, but then there was like 5 more yards after that. Just that push. Third thing I wanted to ask, as a Hawkeye fan, I don't know if you watched the Iowa game yesterday. And I know you're part of the Jet Awards, which is a great, great thing. Kate Legion probably wins Iowa 3 games a year.
I know.
If you watch that game, he's amazing. Can someone win it 2 times or?
Yeah. I mean, he's the favorite currently. I'm putting the list out of the 5 finalists tomorrow, and he's certainly he got the most votes. I had him arranged in the top 5, and he got the most votes. And then after yesterday, now he's got 4 returns for a touchdown. He sets the record for Iowa, breaking Tim Dwight's record. I mean, he's certainly got a chance.
I played with Tim Dwight, so
he
was amazing.
Yep.
He played for the Atlanta Falcons, though.
Yeah, he played 10 years in the league. 10 years in the league. Yeah.
So,
yep.
Well, but if the Jet Awards want to spread the wealth around to other kids who are deserving,
we just got to give it to the most outstanding, though. We got to give it to the most. If he's the most outstanding, he's the one that'll get it.
Yep. Well, love your show.
Appreciate it, Matt.
And love listening to you.
All right, take it easy, Matt. Going in, so the opening line for that game originally was Nebraska was going to be favored by 2.5 against Iowa. Now, the preliminary opening line anywhere from 4.5 to 5 to 5.5. So now Iowa is favored by 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5. One more call before we take a break. Let's go to Craig. Good morning, Craig.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, Michael. Hey, just talking about run defense and hey, it's a game of inches, and sometimes when you give inches away, it becomes a game of yards and big yards. And I guess I'm just talking about Nebraska's defensive ends, outside linebackers, whatever you want to call them, but they're on an outside hinge alignment wise, and it's not like they're getting long trapped and they're going to spill the ball. But to me, what happened oftentimes last night on the edge was that the end was in great position and the back feinted inside, and that 6-inch helmet popped to the inside from the defensive end, and the back immediately hit the crease on the outside. And I guess sometimes those, if you're an outside hinge player, your play is on the edge to the outside,
His
not
leverage.
to the inside.
Right, the leverage.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And it looked like a couple times those DNs just got antsy about making a play to their inside, and their helmet went within a split second from outside great position to inside in the backs. Hey, an average back, you can maybe get away with that bad habit, but those Penn State backs were great backs. They knew what they were looking for, and they popped to the outside the minute the edge was committing to the inside. So that's just a bad habit that has to be corrected. And I get the long arming and the bouncing technique, but to me, if I remember right, these were plays that they weren't really trying to bounce the ball.
I think they always want to spill it. I think that's their technique.
Okay.
I think they always want to spill it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on the linebacker, obviously, or the safety to come up there and make that play. And that was, I thought that was the bigger issue last night.
Yeah. There was issues across the board. And hey, let's face, those were great backs too.
Yeah, they are.
But hey, I did tell you a couple weeks ago, as a Carolina fan, you never, ever, ever overlook a divisional opponent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You do. Yeah. I'm still mad about that win. Thanks, Craig.
See you now.
All right, man. Take it easy. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More Severe Reaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. When we take banking personally and answer the phone on the first ring and take Doug's call. And brought to you by Nebraska Medicine. Join our team at nebraskamed.com/careers. More of Severe Reaction on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Toby Grunkemeyer out of the gun, single back right, Singleton. Two wide lefts, one to the right. Tight end left is Khalil Dinkins. Nebraska sends pressure. Zone read handoff. Singleton sweeps left to the 10-5. In standing up. Touchdown Penn State. 10 yards untouched. 23-3. Nittany Lions mid at 14 before half.
Yeah, I don't love the boundary pressure there. That's the second time that they've tried it. And Penn State ran the same play both times.
You know, they definitely did a good job of running their pass looks off of their run looks. I think that was a good job by them. So I think we have to be better at, seeing our run pass keys so that we don't get drawn up on play actions and stuff like that. You know, if we have bad run pass keys and we're, getting sucked up on the run, it's easier to complete, bigger passes. So I think we just have to be more disciplined. But yeah, we'll be better.
402-951-1620 is the number for Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone. We saw a stat up on the television that said David Braun has 11 one-score wins since he's been there at Northwestern. I looked up to answer the question that Joey asked, 5 one-score losses.
Pretty impressive, 11-5.
Yeah. Shows you just how many one-score games they play, too. I mean, that's 16 over 3 years. That's a lot of one-score games. But and a lot of times when they've gotten beaten, they've gotten blown out based off of looking at the schedule running through it. I want to shout out a couple of players I thought played as hard as anybody yesterday. Sierra Wright was all over the place, stuck his head in there in the run game, flying around. Maybe the stats don't show it, but Sierra Wright was really good and played his ass off last night. Deshaun Singleton, another guy, ended up having 10 tackles. He had 2 of the 5 tackle for losses for Nebraska. And Barney having to take over as the kickoff returner. Kenneth Williams had I'm assuming a tight hamstring. He just said he had some tightness, but comes in there and, he does a great job. The one touchdown they got was off of a 40-yard return. It was the first 30-plus yard return that Penn State had given up all season, and Barney got that. So those guys, a lot of guys played well, but those guys particularly, I thought, really stood out. And then, of course, Emmett as a workhorse getting out there and just busting his ass, too. Let's go back to the phones, 402-951-1620. My friend Hobbs, what's up, man? How are you?
Well, I was clearly delusional yesterday. I'm glad I kept my money in my pocket.
I'm glad you did, too. I'm glad you did, too.
Yeah. I watching that, and I kind of turned it off midway through the third quarter because I saw it was going to end. But I think not having 9-0 in there from last year, really caused it creates an imbalance where you can't play complimentary football, because I think the offense, as bad as Holgorsen has been in these types of losses, to me it seems like there's a potential there with a lot of the players that they have on offense to kind of play it and keep it close a little bit, but you can't do that when you allow Penn State to just do what they want to do, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And how do we get there so quick? Because in the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't really allowed, save for the Michigan game in Rule's first year, really haven't allowed anybody to kind of push us around like that.
Right.
Up until this year, and we all knew that this was going to be an issue. We all assumed that it was going to be an issue, but it seemed like there was no urgency to get somebody in there who could help shore that up. But it's just frustrating to watch Minnesota's and Penn State's, and now next week probably Iowa, come in here and be able to just manhandle us up front when that was never the case. Going back as far as I can remember.
Hey, you saved that $50 this week, right? You saved it. Bet it on Nebraska money line on Friday.
Won't it be up to 7.5 by then?
Well, right now it's sitting at 4.5, 5, 5.5, depending on which book you look at. I think as we get closer, it actually won't go that direction. I think it's going to come the other direction.
Yeah, well, Iowa seems to find a way, like they did yesterday, of pulling out these games with zero offense. It's just mind-boggling to me that we just can't figure out something. But Yeah, maybe I'll just take that money and just throw it out on the interstate rather than bet on Nebraska. It'd probably get me the same results.
You want the craziest stat from yesterday, okay? And there's a lot of them. Penn State ran 25 first down plays. They averaged 10.3 yards on first down.
That's crazy.
10.3 yards on first down.
I mean, unfortunately, and you're a big analytics guy. You look at numbers all the time. I mean, I guess maybe Rule is what Rule is. He's a 500 coach who can't win the big game, who can get you to a mediocre bowl game. And, he caught lightning in the battle at Baylor, and who really cares about Temple? But, I mean, he is what he is at this point. There's too much data out there to suggest otherwise.
It's funny because it's the same conversation we were having about Mike Riley, right? You're like, this is what Mike Riley is. And maybe it'll give you a season where you get to 9 wins, but this is what he is.
Get better steroids or find more established players up on the offensive and defensive lines. That's the only way you have a chance. I think schematically they probably could have competed and made it the game, sorted it out, if they had some bigger, some beef up front. But until we get that, man, we just are what we are.
Do you think even with the personnel they have that they would have been a better run defense if Tony White was the defensive coordinator?
No.
Really?
No.
You don't think based off of the way he does it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I think Nash and I forget names. Robinson. Yeah, I think they made such a big difference. Now, when it comes to third down, you got to get their ass off the field because they weren't catching anybody. But I mean, I think they just really. It's more evident that we missed them more this year than we ever thought.
Yeah, I think part of it's philosophy too, though. I think part of it's philosophy and the way that Butler designs his defense and what he wants to stop as a defensive back coach.
Then let me ask you this. Do you think if they had somebody up front who could command, maybe more than one blocker, that this would allow his defense to flourish a little bit better?
Sure. Yes. I think if they had a nose tackle that could take, that double team on, but I also think that you saw development from Van Poppel and other guys. I think that defensive line, if it was Tony White's system, I think would be playing better than it's playing this year. But there's no way to know. I just think based off of what I've seen from him as a defensive coordinator in 2 years, I think they would have been better.
All right.
But I don't know.
Well, I'll see you next week, buddy.
All right, man. Talk to you later. See you later. That's Mr. Hobbs. Sometimes you just got to look at it and say, this is not a good matchup for Nebraska. Let's move on, not spend our money. Let's go back to Chip. What's up, Chip? How you doing? Chip, you there? Chip's gone. Chip?
Now I'm here.
Hey, Chip, what's up?
Good. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I was a bit like Hobbs. I was watching Hallmark movies with my wife at the end of that game.
Yeah.
I did want to thank NBC. I don't know what's wrong with these national broadcasts. They won't put the year of the class of the players by them. And NBC did. If you noticed, there's a reason Penn State was picked to be really good.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen so many SR-Rs. When you're going through the offensive defensive line, that's all they were redshirt seniors and seniors. And I don't think it's only the third year I'm patient. It's only the third year with Rule. We're supposed to be loaded next year with a bunch of people coming off of red shirts. In fact, our recruiting class can only be 7, 8 people.
They're probably going to have they're probably 10 is what you could get to high school. Yeah.
And you think back, it took Harbaugh 8 years to get Michigan right. Franklin never quite got Penn State right, but he was loaded this year. I think you got to give a little, it's a very young defense. It does not have the size we want it to have, but it will. We've got the kid from Omaha, the wrestler coming off. We've got some other big guys coming off to doing that. So I'm just thinking, it's frustrating to get beat like that, but think if Penn State was Penn State at the beginning of the season, this is going to be a 22-point spread normally.
Yeah.
With what it is. I just wish sometimes on offense that they could sustain, and I don't know what it is, why we can't, just take the points and be happy to start a game. It's especially on the road, get ahead, push them back, make them know that they're at least in a fight they have to score. And we always go for it and doesn't seem to do very well around the goal line. So that's just my perspective.
I get it.
So,
I understand.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Chip. I appreciate it. Tyson Terry. I look forward to seeing Tyson Terry play. We'll take a break because we're getting over. Mike, Aaron, Curtis, stay right there. When we come back, we'll get back to the phones. 402-951-1620 here on Severe Reaction on 1620 Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Oh, they fake it. Direct snap to the up man, angling left. Here's Luke Reynolds, 50, 45, 40. Left side numbers, 35. And he's chipped out by Barney at the 30-yard line. Direct snap to the up man, Luke Reynolds, the tight end on specials, and they're pulling out all the stops. First down, Penn State.
Yeah. As we always say, right? They've got a marker and a dry erase board, too. You're up 20.
I think, Terry, I think, when you're the interim head coach, people have a tendency to rally around you. I think they certainly have rallied around him. He's a Penn Stater. He's a lifer. I'm proud of him. I gave him his first job. I think he's done a really nice job out there. I'm sure Penn State's a great place. They have a fantastic talent, and they played really well tonight.
Welcome back to Reaction here on 1620 The Zone, 402-951-1620. Go back to the phones. Go ahead, Mike. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Hey, just a quick one. With the offensive line coach and defensive line coach are under a lot of scrutiny. Butler's under a lot of scrutiny. Why is the strength and conditioning coach not being scrutinized right now? I mean, you look at our two strongest offensive linemen, Spindler and Pritchett. They transferred in. The rest of these guys, to me, they just don't look like they've developed just physically.
Hey, Mike, I believe the strongest lineman on the line is actually Lutovsky, based off of their testing. Yeah.
Well, I eat my words then.
Yeah, he's a beast. He really is. He is. But I agree. Pritchard certainly looks like the most of a beast. But if they had to lift and go against each other, I would take Lutovsky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. Take it easy.
No problem. Hey, look, man, you question everybody, right? You question strength and conditioning. You question every part of the program because, again, the program has to be above every piece of the program. And so, yeah, you question everything. I don't believe that Matt Rhule will be moving on from the strength and conditioning coordinator only because they've been together so long and he looks good running out of the tunnel. Let's go to the phones. Hey, Aaron, what's up?
Yeah, a couple things. The first thing was that, beginning of the year, this was a really bad matchup, I think.
Yes.
Just because of the line of scrimmage and stuff. So I think that he kind of came in conservatively, trying not to get blown out, and they got blown out. The way they played TJ, they were really passive with him. What do you think about that? Maybe trying to keep him healthy for the Iowa game.
Yeah, and I agree that, and thanks for the phone call. If you would have asked me how many yards, so I said this before the game, I thought that on the ground that TJ needed to have about 70, 75 yards for Nebraska to be in this game. That's average, thinking that Emmett was going to get about 120 because that's what he's doing. They about 200 yards rushing is what I thought they needed to be able to control the ball, keep Penn State and their offensive line and run game off the field. I thought they could do that. I also thought they needed at least two big plays in the return game. They actually got two good plays, 28-yard and a 40-yard return, and I thought they needed to get some turnovers, probably two. If all those things went right, I thought Nebraska had a chance to win. Really and truly, what they did with TJ and the way they handled it, and I think the speed of Penn State kind of surprised Nebraska too. There was a couple times where Nebraska got to the edge with Latif, with backs, and Penn State ran it down. I think that surprised them a little bit. One more phone call before we get to the break. Let's go to Curtis. Good morning, Curtis.
Good morning. I know we just got taken to the woodshed and all, but
yeah,
man, I feel like we don't have to scrap everything. Like I feel like we're still pretty young.
Yeah.
And I don't know, every time I looked up last night, I feel like it was like a young guy on defense, out of position, and just getting beat. But I don't know, does this like calm down the TJ conversation? And do we like miss Dylan Raiola at all? Thanks, Michael.
Hey, Curtis, I appreciate it. You say it's funny because that discussion was happening on Twitter the whole time. Again, since TJ's been the quarterback in 2 games, I'm going to leave out the USC thing. He's made 3 or 4 throws that I've not seen Dylan make accurately the whole time he was here. Not saying that they wouldn't have played better with Dylan. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying TJ at this point makes some throws that for whatever reason Dylan struggles making. Dropping it in the bucket, getting that nose down. He has issues with that. Matter of fact, he even throws a better screen ball at times than I saw Dylan throw. So, again, however this ends up breaking out, I think TJ Lateef has shown as a freshman with a couple of starts under his belt that he has got a lot of potential, and they're going to have to make a decision. We'll take a break. We'll come back, get caught up on our breaks here on Severe Reaction.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
Run each way. Lindenmeyer short motion right. Snap back to Lateef. Looks right. Pressure comes. Spins out of it. Steps up. Lateef eyes downfield. Accelerates 10. Near left side 5. He's in. Touchdown Huskers.
He's pretty good.
Houdini, number 14, has 6. It's 30-9 with 55 seconds left in the third.
He is pretty good.
At the end of the day, TJ, I don't think had a bad play off the night. Even on this, we called the kind of rollout play, and it ended up being a sack on the one. If you remember 2 games ago, Sam, against USC, twice he ran and twice they knocked the ball out and fumble went out of bounds. Kid hasn't really been hit in a long time. Got out there, even on a play like that, he gets down. I think he moved the ball. He got us in the right checks. He handled the pressure. He handled the crowd noise. We had to go on silent the whole night. I thought TJ did a lot of good things. There's probably some throws at the end of the game. He'd love to get back, but he battled. He fought. He tried to run guys over and all that. I would probably prefer that he didn't always do that. But I think it sent a message to our team that he was going to fight for us, and that Emma was going to fight for us, and that Sierra was going to fight to the end. And so, he'll have to be ready for obviously a great Iowa defense, a different type of defense, but a great Iowa defense. And it's a short week. It's going to be a real challenge for all of us, and we're ready for it.
Welcome back to Severe Reaction here on 1620 The Zone. Yesterday, 47% rushing success rate for Penn State. They rushed for 69 in the first quarter, 64 in the second quarter, 133 in the third quarter, and 98 in the fourth quarter. I mentioned this to Hobbs earlier, 25 first down plays. They averaged 10.3 yards a play, 8 for 118 running, 6 of 7 for 139 passing. You get ahead of the sticks like that, you have a great game. One of the things I thought was interesting, Matt Rule said he challenged his team at halftime. He said, I challenged my team at halftime. Penn State came out, went 8 plays for 75 yards. They went run 7, run 8, pass 29, run 13, run 3, pass 5, run for 7, touchdown, 3 yards. He challenged them, and Penn State came out and went 8 plays for 75 yards, positive plays pretty much every play, and made it look easy. As we would say, too easy, drill sergeant, too easy. Finishing drive rate, Penn State had 8 total drives. 5 were successful, 37 points. That means they averaged 7.4 points a successful drive. Perfect essentially is 7, just so you know. 1 punt, 1 3 and out for Penn State. Nebraska had 5 successful drives, only got 10 points. 2 points successful drive. And the net field position, Penn State won that 32-yard line to the 28-yard line. Havoc plus, Penn State 16, Nebraska just 6, minus 10 in Havoc plus. Pretty much dominated the 3 stats that I look at after each game. Let's go to the phones. That's where Jim is. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, Michael. Hey, one of the things that really kind of struck me in the game last night was just it seemed like from the very beginning, the receivers were just running wide open.
Nebraska's or theirs?
Penn State.
Okay.
And I get it that we were certainly trying to focus on the run. I mean, everybody knew what they were trying to do with their 2 backs last night and whatever. But are you telling me that we can't have a defense where we can play the run and get within 10 yards of the receivers? It seemed to get for a team that's done so well all year long against the pass, and we've played other teams that can certainly run the ball. Their receivers were just wide open all night. Maybe you talked about that earlier, Michael, and I missed it, but otherwise, what do you think about that?
I agree with you. I thought of a lot of it, Jim, and appreciate the phone call, was communication issues. You watch a couple times where they would have a stack. They'd have two wide receivers to one side, and simply one would run an over route and one would run an under or a dig, and you'd watch the cornerback or the safety make their adjustments and let one guy go. And it made Grunk's choices pretty easy. Wait, wasn't getting a lot of pressure. I think Nebraska only had 4 pressures total on the night. And so because of that, he looks up, he waits for the guy to come open, he throws the open guy. It wasn't even like it was switch route stuff. It was just simply one guy ran one route, the other guy ran the other route, one guy came open, he threw it to him. It was very strange, but it looked like it was a communication issue to me in the secondary. Like Penn State saw something, and really, they didn't throw the ball a lot. It was 11 of 12 or something like the 10 of 12. They didn't throw the ball a lot, but when they did, incredibly efficient. That's what they were. Secondary grades from PFF. Highest grade was Deshaun Singleton. Not surprising. Tackled very well, was all over the place. Donovan Jones, overall, struggled a little bit. 58% was his final grade. Andrew Marshall had a good day. I mentioned Sierra Wright. Great run defense, stuck his nose in there. Is not a big guy. Good tackling grade. His coverage grade actually was a little bit low. Going to the linebackers, Vincent Shavers played the most snaps, played almost twice as many snaps as anybody else on the defense, and had an 81.8 grade for tackling, which is pretty good. Again, as I mentioned, Nebraska didn't get a lot of pressure. You look at the defensive line, Keona Davis had the most snaps. Riley Van Poppel had the second most snaps. He played a lot of 4- and 5-man front because of that. And Hufkin was out there quite a bit as well, and so was Pete Petzock as well. So those guys were out there the most. Highest grade defensive lineman. Nobody on the defensive line reached a 60 for their grade. Telling you just where they were. We'll take a break. We'll come back. 402-951-1620. Severe reaction on 1620 The Zone.
Now, back to Severe Reaction, powered by Nebraska Medicine and Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Here's your host, Michael Severe, on 1620 The Zone.
1st and 10, Nebraska 13. Brunkemeyer corrals his shotgun snap, handoff. Allen patiently runs left, slant to the 10-5. He's in. Touchdown, the Dagger. With 11-10 to go.
By design. Let it play out. Get to the point of attack. Cut back.
13 yards makes it 36-10 Penn State.
No one started pointing fingers. No one was yelling. No one was throwing helmets. There was none of that stuff. And so, TJ ran around, battled to the end. Jacory's out there trying to return punts at the end. I was not proud of the result, but I was proud of that. So we'll come back. We'll eat this one. We'll sit there and deal with it. I told them when we get on the plane, we're on to next week. We got no time to worry about what just happened, as bad as it was.
I mean, obviously it's hard because we lost, but it's a quick turnaround, and we all know we got a great opponent ahead, and so we just got to flip the script and get ready for them. Yeah, he handled it really well. He was out there scrambling, trying to run people over. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to do whatever it took to help the team win. And so I'm really excited for him, man, and how he handled it today. We just got to keep growing from it and then just execute.
I'm a big movie line person, right? Big movie line person. And when he says we got no time, I'm like, that's something. It's from Armageddon. We got no time. We got no time. It's like definitely Armageddon. And that's what next week is. That's what Friday is. It's Armageddon for one side or the other. Somebody's going 7-5. Somebody's going 8-4. I tell you here, Nebraska will win outright. Nebraska is going to beat Iowa outright. Put it right there. Outright. Money line it. I don't know what the number is right now. I'm guessing it's probably about 230, maybe, somewhere in there. Or maybe 210. I have to check that. Keys, real quick. I said team that wins the run game is going to win the game. Penn State, 231 yards on the ground, 5.9 yards a rush. Nebraska, 131 yards, 4.1 yards a rush. Pretty simple. How would freshmen on the road environment handle the pressure? And TJ went 21 to 37 for 187 yards. He had 10 rushes. Long one was for 11. 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries. He did make some really nice throws. He had 5 big plays for 112 yards. He had 3 plays of 20+. So I think he handled the pressure as well as you would expect for a guy who is a true freshman on the road in that situation against a good front. And then Jacory Barney, talked about him needing those explosive plays. 4 kickoff returns for 110 yards. All purpose, he went for 166. He had a 40-yard kickoff return, the first 30 or more yard kickoff return for Penn State all season. They've given up, and a 30-yard reception, which means he now has 8 30-plus yard plays as an all-purpose back, which is in the top 5 in the country. So playing pretty well for Jacory Barney, just not enough, obviously. And then Iowa preview. We all know what Iowa does. They are a 60-40 essentially run-pass team. They're averaging about 4.5 yards, 4.4, somewhere in there, yards a carry, 161 a game. Drops off a little bit in Big Ten play. If Nebraska performs in the same manner that they performed, giving up 5.2 yards a carry against the average of 36.7 rushes, like Iowa does, that means Nebraska would give up 190 yards rushing. Nebraska will not give up 190 yards rushing on Friday. That's why I believe Nebraska will win the game. Other numbers looking at for Iowa going against Nebraska. Well, the passing numbers for Iowa, as you know, they are 121st in terms of pass play percentage because they're a 40% pass team. They are yards per pass, 114th. Pass yards a game, 131st, which is 5 from the bottom. Interception percentage, 94th. And quarterback sacked, 78th. Nebraska hasn't had great pressure, but Iowa's been giving up sacks to a lot of different people. Part of that's because at times after the first look, their quarterback will take off running and ends up getting a sack instead of a tackle for loss. In terms of Nebraska going against Iowa's pass defense, Iowa is 31st in opponent completion percentage. Nebraska's 5th in the country. 12th opponent's yards per pass. Nebraska's 48th in the country. Passing yards a game. Iowa's only given up 169 yards, where Nebraska's getting 230 for the season. And then versus Nebraska going against Iowa rushing. Again, as good as Iowa is as running the ball, I thought their numbers would be actually better than they are. They're good, don't be wrong, but they aren't what I thought they were. Iowa's defense, though, 3.3 yards a rush is what they're allowing, whereas Nebraska's averaging 4.4 yards a rush. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, we'll be back. It'll be Sunday. Games on Friday. I'll be making lots of lunch bets, I think. But I think a lot of people are just taking Nebraska. I'm taking Iowa, and I'm taking Nebraska. But I think Nebraska wins it Monday night. Have a great week. Try to enjoy it. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your Black Friday. Nebraska wins 23-20. Walk-off field goal. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Sunday.